I may do a formal video breaking down Media Man's video, but I want to say a couple of things. This is more of a reaction, and I want to jump directly. And normally I don't like calling people by name, but yeah, this is gonna be warranted. Let me tell you this first. Media Man would never get on a panel with a Dr. C. Fuck me. But Media Man would never get on a panel with BGS or Dr. T. Hassan Johnson to debate the matriarchy. Because at the end of the day, Media Man is more for a bag than actually the activism of solving the community. And that's the problem with a lot of these post-Kevin Samuels people. And you know, I'm going to try to refrain from cursing. But honestly, I'm kind of annoyed, if we're going to be like really honest. I'm going to be annoyed because I really do expect better out of Media Man. This is not about no fucking take. You know, this is not about no fucking take. This is real shit. So yeah, I can be passionate about it, and I know, and I'm not the only one. I'm the one that's kind of hit the hammer about the matriarchy, but like media, yeah. So this is so the first thing that kind of really fucking annoys me is not him saying this. It's really the why behind it. It's really the why behind it. Let's be very clear here. You see it in his video upload pattern, whether he wants to admit it or not, and there's other people that do this. You know, and prove me wrong. Niggas can prove me wrong and shut me up. And look, people will say, I don't have a right to disclose my analytics. No, you don't. But I have every right to speculate on what your analytics are if I don't have other evidence to the contrary. And Media Man has, I'm sure he has, a lot of people in our space have like a 90 plus. I'm going to keep it real with you. If you don't have a 90 plus mail rate, you on the suspect list as far as I'm concerned. I have a 96% male viewership rate. And so I don't have any reason to cater to the chicks. I probably would be bigger if I did that. But at the end of the day, I chose, at least through this channel, to focus on the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but as far as I saw it, versus, and I'm not saying versus, you know, try to get a bag out of YouTube like a lot of post-Kevin Samuels people did. A lot of y'all follow Kevin, and Kevin had his own things, the fashion and stuff. I watched him before he even did a lot of the female content. But as far as the female content over here, none of you all are Kevin. And the reality is, a lot of what made Kevin, as far as the talking points, comes from over here. Mainly the IGMOR block. IGMOR stands for Introspective Black Men of Reform. It's something that's not talked about, and quite frankly, I like it that way. Because it was never meant to be known. Everything that y'all worship Kevin through, that y'all got inspired Kevin through, Anton had a little bit going on his own, but him being inspired to go the route he went, all of y'all Kevin Samuels acolytes, a lot of what he said comes from us. And when I say us, Kevin didn't shout y'all's names out. He shouted mine out more than once. I wish somebody need to go get that clip so people can know I'm not capping about that. And I'm saying that to say that we knew Kevin before Kevin blew up to where y'all act like he's got the stuff. A lot of what he understood about this situation comes from us. And Kevin didn't never directly say it was a matriarchy, but Kevin definitely understood that. I can dig out the Google Hangouts that's in the depths of YouTube underwater, and I can dig these things out. They're still online, and show these conversations before Kevin pulled up. Show me being in these conversations. And no, I don't do this particular stuff for money. This is not me trying to hit somebody for money, but that's always something you got. And look, I shout out to Mediocre Tutorial Reviews. I get it, get your bag. But the thing is, I can't stand the people that present themselves as the ultimate righteous nigga, and then, or I'm the stat guy, I'm above it all, when at the end of the day, a lot of y'all are really just getting money, and that's what drives you. And quite frankly, this is what people don't understand about white supremacy. If you don't master your ability to generate your own money, then you will be a slave and controlled by it. This is one of the things that people don't understand. This is one of the lessons, really, of integration. Because they weren't going to be able to get away with doing what like Israel does to Gaza and keep on blowing our stuff up if we kept on rebuilding it. Because it would be a bad look on a geopolitical scale. Which is why, one of the reasons why integration happened. So I'm saying all this to set the table. Media Man wants to say the matriarchy it doesn't exist. Dude, I'm here to tell you, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And the reality is your ego of fuck you and fuck your stats, because you're misreading the stats. I'm not the only one that's noticed that you'll do that from time to time. I call it putting drips of gasoline in the water. SWP has noticed that. People that have been in this conversation a lot longer than you, and people that care more about the truth and clarity for black men rather than trying to get a bag. And although you're useful in some ways when it comes to the stats, at the end of the day, you have absolutely demonstrated you're willing to fudge that shit if you're pissing the bitches off enough. If the women get too mad, because I'm really curious at what your percentage, I'm not going to give a number as to what I think it is, because I'm not 100% sure, but I know you got much more women listening to you than other people listening to us. This is where the dress up with the Kevin Samuels, big arms and fucking tie bullshit comes from. It's presentation, and I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. However, the reality is, do not for a second think that you're on the right side of this and you're on the right side ultimately. You are not that much different than a lot of people that would you just ain't completely sold out. But if the bag was big enough, you would. I know you would. And a lot of people would. So that being said, let's jump into this conversation real quick. So, I listened to a little bit of his video, and I'm going to be full disclosure, just enough to know that he wasn't just rage clickbaiting, and this is something he actually believes. Here's the thing. He tries to use stats to disprove the matriarchy. So let me explain. Number one, you can use stats to disprove white supremacy if you want to be fucking ahistorical, too. You could do that, too, based on statistics. I know he tried to say, well, 13% and 50%. It's not just about that. It's narratives. There's a lot of different ways you can fudge that. Feminists can use stats. Stats are really a political weapon to use narratives. And America is very sophisticated. So be very clear on what I mean and what we mean when we say the black community is a matriarchy. The black community is supervised by black women. That is where the power is. If you don't understand that, you are a fucking moron and you are not worthy to be the stat guy. Because it means you're either a liar or it means you're too fucking stupid in order to actually interpret the information properly to actually move forward. So you default to a lot of what these niggas default to when they don't really understand, and you go to the out for your way through it bullshit. Because that's the answer to everything, right? Because that's all black men need. This is exactly what I mean when I say that. There's a blind spot with niggas that got daughters and no sons. I always tell niggas, and it's not everybody, there are exceptions to this rule, but shout out to Black Guru, but as one, I know exceptions, but you gotta look at niggas that they got daughters and no sons, like black women look at niggas that date outside the race with a certain level of suspicion, because there's certain blind spots that they have that they don't want to acknowledge that comes from that. So the black community is a matriarchy that operates under white supremacy. So for example, let's say the Nazi Germany, when Nazi Germany controlled France, when they had conquered France during the World War II, they had a puppet government. This government was mainly to manage for them to do it. And so they had a supervisory public government. This is typically a lot of times that happens. That's essentially what the black community is. Black women are a buffer group, just like poor whites are a buffer group in the racial hierarchy to the elite whites that really run shit. And I will go, and just so I understand, just so you understand how far out of your fucking depth you are on this, the black community is not just a matriarchy. Low key, the white community is matriarchal. In order to enforce it. This, like, when you look at all the areas of activity, sex, law, most of the areas, economics, politics, sex, law, war, labor, media. I'm missing two of them, but all of that outside of like war, all of it is matriarchally dealt with. They use the state. This is why nobody can fucking figure it out, because everybody is talking around it rather than actually saying what it is. The white community is just now fucking starting to figure this out. Feminism is based buffer zone in order to put women in a certain position to separate, to basically give them a buffer between the elites. The black community is fucking obvious is what it is. So if you can't see that, that's crazy. But even the white community is starting to move more. Now, I wouldn't say the white community is exactly a matriarchy. The white community would be matriarchal. And guess what? The men don't understand that. That's why everything's fucking falling apart. When they look at women has been in school and all this, the education system in high school has been flipped. All of this shit taken out, all of that. It all comes from the same thing. Now, how far on the spectrum is different. Now, what he wants to do is he play the game that everybody plays, which is a matriarchy means women run it. And yeah, you're in a fucking democracy too, right? When in actuality, we're in really probably more of a plutocracy as far as effectiveness of how it is. Just because something is not official for the fucking lambs and the blue pillars and the royal blue pillars, which are really kind of people that like to lean in the purple pill, but they got blue pill tendencies. Yeah, just like the rose pill or the purple pill folks that tend to lean red pill. You know, these people, they like to change their stripes because at the end of the day, they want to make money more than anything else. Yeah, if you want to pull up the definition, but when you look at how the black community effectively operates and how black men operate in particular, and how black men interact with their women, black men are scared of their women. Black men, because you have a single mother mama complex. I don't give a fuck if you niggas had a father in the home, because a lot of you niggas, your father wasn't the dominant. And if you're an exception, well, bro, fucking go. But that's not a community dynamic. That's an island. For example, Robert Smith is David Stewart and Robert Smith are extremely wealthy. Although white people let them know, all we got to do is give you a $300 million accounting error to justify going after your ass. They are still an island into a sea of other wealthy people that if they pull up can fuck them up. They have money and they have some power, but overall, their power can be easily matched, because power is not just about money. And that's what black men, I told you, black men don't understand power. And the stats don't tell that story. It is what the stats are, and it's how you interpret it. And that's why you're not capable of mapping out how to really fix it. Let me get to the end, because I'm doing a lot of ranting. What men need to do is black men need to learn to create ruthless leverage. The first thing they need to do is they need to work together. That's what number one. We need to learn to politic with each other, which is something your ass ain't never said. Because you are on the alpha your way through a hyper individualism standpoint. It doesn't matter how good you may be able to do that to create your own outcomes, but even your own outcomes is subject to the overall outcomes. None of you niggas are above it. And that's the problem. You all can't see that because your egos don't allow you to see it. And what that means is you can't correct the problem that you cannot admit exists. A man is incapable of correcting a problem he cannot diagnose. It's just like why white people can't diagnose their own fucking issue. Their own fucking issue. Because they cannot accept that the elites have fucked them. Because they believe, well, we got the numbers. And white rich people need the numbers in order to continue white supremacy. Not understanding that a lot of these white people, the elites, think it's too many people here anyway. So they fail to see that. So they say it's, shout out to the people the diagnosis take. Hey, they gotta diagnose it everywhere but what it is. And I may do a play-by-play ripping this shit up, tearing out every fucking stat he talks about, because I can. Kevin understood this. And Kevin would have got to this before he died. But Kevin knows how black women feel about this, because they just see it as you're blaming somebody else. And really, a big issue is matriarchal men. And nigga, you're one of them. You can try to... Most niggas that are matriarchal think they're patriarchs. By the way. They don't know it. And a lot of niggas that are daddy-daughter niggas are matriarchs and don't even know it. Which is one of the reasons I said you gotta watch them niggas with only daughters. Because they're always gonna have blind spots. Because they're more interested in black men basically working to make their daughter a better place, rather than understanding that black men have to have the power to create the environment in order to create a better environment. They don't see it that way. And they all come down to the same shit. This shit is not new, it's just new that it's being talked about. The black community has been a matriarchy since the fucking start. The only exception to this rule, kind of, sort of, was the Reconstruction era and the Black Wall Street era. And that shit got burnt to the motherfucking ground. A lot of game, a lot of how black men interact. There's a book by it called Dark Ghetto, was written in the 40s. It speaks to the same shit we're talking about today. The 40s. It's eerily similar. I may give a playlist of BGS talking about it. It's eerily similar. Eerily similar to what we deal with today in the 2000s. As far as how black men interact, as far as how black women operate, it speaks about a lot of the old stuff before civil rights, before all of that. To absolutely definitively prove this is a pattern. And so, fuck that, oh, it's we lean matrilineal. No, this shit is why the community does not work. It is enforced by white supremacy. This way, white people can hide their hands under black mediocrity. Black mediocrity. This is one of the reasons why they help the women flip the women when it comes to civil rights. That money was supposed to go to us to create a patriarchy. The Moynihan Report was speaking on correcting this. That's what fucking civil rights was for us to have our position, to correct it economically, to have a actual household that's more in alignment with the rest of the United States. Black people, the only other closest other community that would be considered a functional matriarchy is the Jewish community. The Jewish community, if you actually understand how they operate, is effectively a matriarchy. They just operate under whiteness, so they're able to hide in that way. But you saw, man, matriarchies can't functionally exist. No, they can't exist independently. But they can exist under another group if they're allowed to. And the black community is allowed to exist as a matriarchy, as a way of keeping the black community messed up. So it's not, this is why it's so hard to kind of directly say white supremacy. This is that covert part of white supremacy, that systematic white supremacy. Your girls being prioritized over your boys when it comes to education, when it comes to economics, when it comes to employment. All this is why black men deal with all this the real racism versus the women are encouraged. It's a buffer class tactic. And they pretty much exported that to white people, which is what the white boys don't understand. And for you to look at the stats and not really come to that conclusion, well, man, well, they lean matriarchal. They mean the black community's matriarchal. Well, ain't no fucking patriarchy. And people, I saw people in the chat, it's not a matriarchy, but it's a gynocracy. The reason why we use matriarchy, first of all, let's keep it all the way real. Number one, black people do look at matrilineal lines. They do, which is what Jewish people do too. Who your mother is typically determines your blackness. That was legally enforced in the United States. Jewish people operate that way. And black people operate that way in America. African Americans. So, I mean, it's there if you really want to go into actual cultural practices. And I don't even talk about the matriarchy to blame the women. The women are really pawns. It's really the dudes and their failure. First of all, the fact that black men don't work together tells you it's a matriarchy. Why? Highlander syndrome, all this stuff comes from the same thing. And I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, man. At the end of the day, I've been in this conversation way too fucking long to kind of slow route this shit. Really, honestly, because at the end of the day, I'm not, man, do your own fucking homework, man. Look past the stats and actually look at what the fuck is going on. The other thing these typical niggas always say is, oh man, that's how it is in your household, but that's not it is in mine. As if single motherhood don't exist. As if this is where niggas go. You know, I've told you there's certain conversations that'll make niggas IQ free fall or niggas go straight blue pill. This is one of those situations. Because black men, I told you, ego and guilt, ego and guilt, ego and guilt, ego and guilt. Their egos can't allow them to accept that. Now they know, what the fuck do you mean? Do you think it means when people say the black community is inverted from other communities? If you ask a typical nigga, is that true? They will, even one that thinks they're smart, they'll say, yeah, that's essentially the matriarchy. Because other communities are patriarchal. Philippines is way more matriarchal too. When people say matriarchies don't exist, they don't exist over time. Over time, when you look at hundreds of years, you look at it from civilization standpoints. Because obviously wars happen, shit happens. Shit happens. Like it does. So over the course of hundreds of years, yes, they don't. They don't. But like if you look at any situation for like 100 years here or something there, yeah, you'll see it. And so at the end of the day, the real point is, number one, it's not a fucking patriarchy at all. It's never been a fucking patriarchy. Oh, damn, they closed. I didn't know they were closed on Saturdays. Okay, good. That fixes that. And so it's kind of like, I'm not about to sit, man. That's where Mr. Z is better than me. Mr. Z can do that shit. He likes, you know, saving people and saying the shit, you know, to people that want to be, you know, act like they don't know. I don't have the patience for that. I really don't anymore. Especially when I know it's a lot of other things. Motherfuckers could be rage baiting. Motherfuckers, I mean, these niggas are really trying to act like they don't understand what it is. Man, this ain't no matriarchy. And I got people in the comments talking about, you know, oh, maybe it's a gynocracy. A gynocracy is absolutely authoritarian. A matriarchy is a little bit more subtle than that, because for instance, the black church is absolutely a matriarchy. The black church, and it's been that way. Sure, see, when he, you know, he did a response to a comment talking about the shit is ruled by women. That's not how matriarchies work, dumbass. So it really shows you don't even really know how fucking matriarchy works. You just don't like the word. A matriarchy can have men actually running it. The typical characteristics of a matriarchy is women have absolute control over the house. they typically have absolute control over the children, which the 10 years doctrine, the kids, the fact the kids, the control of the children. And then the men will be in leadership positions because men are better suited in leadership positions. A lot of times, the quote-unquote matriarchy will elect men in certain positions, i.e. the bishops in the church, i.e. the pastor. Ain't no pastor or pastor if the women don't want them to be there, especially now in the church. And when you hear women bitch about the church, they're talking about the men, but they're also talking about the women and the shaming that goes in the black church. That's what they don't like. And that's what they don't like. And men were in the church primarily for business and economic and network connections. That's the function the church served. And once they stopped serving that function, men, it was no point in men being there anymore, especially with the women were on what they were on. This is why you don't see a lot of men in the church like they used to be. But even back then, the church, when it comes to like, especially now it's obvious, but it was even true back then, the model. If you actually understand that, most dudes will sit there and say, well, dudes are running it. There's a difference between you being an administrator and you actually having real power to really change the course of shit if you deem necessary. And this is what I mean when I say black men don't understand power. Black men, like Obama was president, but did Obama really have the power to shift this country in such a way that white people wouldn't have been on board with? Hell no. A president is a borderline, is an administrator. They have power for a moment, but there's other power bases. The military, even though they're the commander-in-chief, and there isn't such a thing as a deep state. Eisenhower warned about it. There's other power, the donors and the collection of donors. You may say somebody's powerful as far as one man, but like if you're dealing with, but one man doesn't usurp, X amount of billionaires that have X amount of money, especially if they want to collude behind the scenes, especially now. So my point is, women, there's a reason why black men are not like very forthright. The other thing too is how it's absolutely not a patriarchy is who controls the children. The 10 years document is a legal framework that is what a lot of this women, that's hundreds of years old. This is what all this women get the kids first. And this is what a lot of your child support and all this stuff is really based around. And so if you look at Islamic culture and Muslim culture, men control the children. The woman can dip out, but the man keeps the kids. In the West, it's not like that across the board. And when you look at a lot of stuff that the government tries to do, the government depresses the men and elevates the women as a buffer class. They do that. And really the black community was like exhibit A on how to do that. So to not understand that culture is our primary problem, you're not going to alpha your way through culture. Because here's the problem. Number one, you can create as many muscles as you want. You can you can make as much money as you want. However, if you don't create leverage as a group, you have no leverage. Women's power does not come from necessarily one-on-one. It comes from the collective group and the power behind them that the state enforces. When a man calls 911 on a woman, a woman, like look at Sha'Carri Richardson, for example, and that dynamic. The fact that she was able to lie on tape to the police, get away with that, then turn around and still be elevated to the point where she's on the front page of Nike given a bigger contract. White women can't pop off to that level with white men. Not to that level. This is actually low-key why a lot of other women did have a harder time dealing with their men due to their feminist tendencies like black men. This is something black men's ego can't handle. It's because black men are more egalitarian than other men because we come out of a fucking matriarchy. I mean, these motherfucking, fuck the stats. Show me the men that actually have authority in the black community over all black people. I mean, like, if they say something, it's respected. That's not true for pastors. Pastors tell black women what they want to hear. Tell me somebody that can't tell black women just what they want to hear that's not going to be hated. Show me the group of men that can actually compel black women to do something. Show me that. You can't. It ain't niggas in the household. Everything a man tells a woman to do, I don't care if you're a husband, that woman is choosing to do that. Because if she wants to create problems, she can. Happy wife, happy life niggas. This is that Benny shit too. Benny and John Cannon, they can't deal with this. Hey, my household ain't a major. Number one, nigga, that's not how you define a matriarchy. That's like saying white supremacy don't exist. I got $1 million. So shit, everybody should be in charge. We're way too deep in this conversation, man. Like, for real, for real. It's like, just because you can read stats don't mean you can necessarily interpret that shit. I know you play fun and games for the motherfuckers that don't know shit. Anyway, he don't give a fuck about receipts. Shout out to, because that's a narrative. That's a narrative I do believe Media Man believes in. Media Man can't, his ego can't accept it. And it's obvious. It's obvious. I know exactly what that is because I've seen that before. I know exactly. Them niggas, the household shit, as if, as if patriarchy ain't, you can be a patriarch, and a lot of niggas think they patriarch. Nigga, the only reason you around your daughter as much as you are is because you're the mother that you had a kid with allows it. If she want to create problems for you just because a devil got it on her shoulder, she absolutely could, and nigga, there's nothing you can do about it. There's not a motherfucking thing that you can do about it. I can fight in court. It doesn't matter, nigga. You can fight the whole way in court. At the end of the fucking day, just the act of you fighting, nigga, if you had to fight in court, you're never going to have as much motion with that as somebody that didn't have to do that. There's certain things you just can't alpha your way through because it's not an individual dynamic. Like, the black community can't alpha its way. If our women are fundamentally uncooperative and defiant, you will never have as much motion as a community. Because again, black men, that alpha your way through it is a physical kind of thing. They're not talking about Indians working together. The Indians are not bigger than us. But what they do is work very well together and politic with each other, even with the internal issues they have. And this has allowed them to take the motel industry. This has allowed them to damn near go into the trucking industry. This has allowed them to get into the franchise industry, which I haven't talked about when it comes to Indians. Shout out to the person that put me onto that. A lot of y'all don't know shit as far as the actual mechanics of how these groups do what they do. Because we can't get into that problem because we're too busy talking about how defiant these hoes are. Anyway, he said, salute, shout out to Ghost Illmatic. This is more of a rant more than actual former video. I may do, if y'all want, I may do a play-by-play because I will fucking dismantle molecularly all the shit he's talking about. I really don't like to do that, but this ain't the shit you want to rage bait on. You got 3.5 thousand views off of this. This ain't the shit, because trust me, we will make sure we put a highlight reel of every negative thing you've ever said about black women, just so these bitches are unaware, are very aware that, nigga, you play both sides, and you're not one of these, oh man, I'm saying something. Ooh, I will highlight reel your entire channel and find the worst shit you've ever said that really pissed their ass off, just so you have a reminder. They are reminded that you are not, on the pander list. So this is not the thing you want to kind of play games with. Because I don't be sitting here saying, oh man, if you don't agree, what do you think about the matriarchy? Maybe some people have been asking, but man, we usually let people live. This ain't something you want to rage bait on. Because I'll make sure it costs you more than you gain. And people can be like, is that a threat? Hell yeah, it's a threat. And the reality is the difference between you and me is you got a lot more to lose with this channel than I do. I don't give a fuck. Like, my channel could go tomorrow. I've got my stuff downloaded. I really don't. That's one of the advantages of my channel being as small as it is. But he said, Ghost Illmatic said, salute Ed. I put mad receipts in the comments. Page on citations. Oh man, kudos to you. But Eminem was being willful. Yeah, he's gonna be willful. And he come in here, man. If you not respectful in the comments, man, fuck that shit, nigga. This is discourse. You didn't have to broach the topic. You do not want to be the nigga that's trying to be the community that ain't a matriarchy. Because trust and believe, there's a lot of stuff that people let slide with you when it comes to a lot of stats that motherfuckers could really showcase, nigga. Because at the end of the day, nigga, you're not saying nothing other people didn't say before. You just created a channel around something that people have always said and just aggregated it. You ain't saying there's nothing you brought to the table this brand really knew. Nothing. I may do a former video because it's just me kind of spitballing right now, but it's kind of like niggas are not trying to say it's a matrix. This is the cultural problem that needs to be corrected. This is the through line as to why women want baby showers, why women are constantly defiant. And on the men's side, two things that men need to do is, number one, they have to have the will to create leverage. And to create leverage as a group, we have to work together as a group. We don't have to be no hive mind, but we definitely have to learn to politic better with each other. This is something I've been talking about. That's why I keep telling you, my channel is about culture. And a lot of, in his stats, he don't really get into that. He does. He's the nigga that do that SBE shit. He's just, yeah, we got to do better in the community, but he can't define what that is. Media Man cannot define what doing better actually is and actually means. He can't define it. So what he does is he just says, shit that sounds good, but ultimately don't mean shit in a practical application. He says a lot of, topical, congenial shit. Shit like yeah, man, you need to work out, get muscles, and get this, and get that, and get more money, and da-da-da-da. I mean, you ain't saying nothing about it, and then put the stats, this is actually the true community. Exactly, Dr. D. The slave driver isn't the slave owner. And so at the end of the day, black women are essentially supervisors. This goes all the way back to the plantation, where if a white man couldn't be around, black women could be around, and you make black women invested in being around. It's not an absolute through line. This is not the type of shit that's going to show up in the stats. But when you hear black women talk about they're more educated, when you hear black women and talking about like the black tax on black men, is essentially what it is. By the way, they don't do this with other groups. They don't do this with other groups. They don't recognize, like seriously, this mama complex that black women have with black men. Like, they talk to black men like they're boys. How the fuck could you not see this? No, man, it's not a matriarchy. So what is it then? The dude, I forget the dude is all that I can't stand, because I've kind of gotten rid of him in my brain. The dude with the dreads. They're always saying the fucking goofy. You know what I'm talking about. I asked him a simple question. Is it a patriarchy, matriarchy, gynocracy, or other? And these niggas can never answer that. These stats don't really show up in that. So it's really, it doesn't. These stuff, fucking stats don't measure what sociological construct or anthropological construct. That's not how that works. And even if it did, I mean, shit, you can look at single motherhood. You can look at a whole bunch of shit. No, man. Ain't no women running me, man. That ain't how it works, man. Ain't no women running me's. Oh, wow. is a patriarch. SWP used to have this problem. SWP used to have this problem. And this is a part of the way to understand how these women, these motivations behind why these women think the way they think. That narrative is, women just had to do it because, black men failed. No, women wanted to do it. Damn, what the fuck am I at? It's these basic ass, and that's why nothing never gets solved. Cause these basic ass fucking narratives that black men have that they know, and this stuff, there's books on this. This isn't a new thing. Dark Ghetto, there is books on this shit. Hold on, I'm gonna have to get back. And it is what it is. So some of it, niggas just be tired. Really. I might have to check that out. All right, let me go ahead. Because I'm late. Anyway, Landon, black men have to develop a heart to starve resources. I mean, the point is, leverage is not just resources. Leverage is there's individual leverage, and then there's individual leverage, and then there's a lot of forms of leverage. Yeah, there's a lot of forms of leverage. There's a lot of forms of leverage. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go through that today. But black men gonna have a certain level of clarity that they're just not willing to have. Yeah, so it is what it is. But like, that shit really gets on my nerves. I mean, because at this point, I see that what he's doing is more of a social media strategy. And so part of it is like, let that shit die, not even respond to that shit. But part of it is kind of like, dude, like, motherfuckers can fuck with your channel if people really wanted to. We got all the greatest hits, man. We can make sure these chicks definitely know, that you be playing. But I mean, we could do that if we really wanted to do that. I don't know why these motherfuckers be thinking that motherfuckers can't fuck with their shit. And normally I'm not like big on that, but it's kind of like this kind of disingenuous shit, yeah, it is what it is. Because at the end of the day, that's how I know a lot of the shit is probably not gonna get fixed, because black men don't have the ability to really, black men's ego doesn't allow them to see with enough clarity what actually needs to be done. Like I said, it's really black men working better together, and black men having the will to do leverage individually and as a group. The group part requires black men to work together. The leverage part, for leverage to be effective, because individually it's all about leverage. Well, black men really don't want to put leverage on their women. What black men want to do is talk jutsu and negotiate with their women. And black men believe if they're sexy enough, if they're pretty enough, because that's where that alpha your way through it comes from. If I'm pretty enough and I'm rich enough, then black women would just be compelled to do what the fuck I want to do. Shit, just tell that to Will Smith. Just tell that to Stephen Curry. Just tell, like, I mean, for real, yo. You you really don't, and there's a through line with all those dynamics. Those are, like, technically Stephen Curry and Asian Curry, they come from patriarchal households to an extent, but there's real patriarchy and there's like what black people consider patriarchy. African Americans, which is not the same thing. Black women ain't dealt with real patriarchy. They ain't really seen it. Them Indian chicks have, though. Anyway, let me go through y'all comments and then I'm gonna be done. Patriarchy is done in most developed countries. Women have access to their own resources. They can check out anytime you want to see Korea. No, I mean, Korea is a unique situation because obviously their country is split in half, number one. Japan has been pretty much a Japanese ethno state. That's why they're teed up first. But the reality is these women still want lifestyle. Number one, poorer women tend to have children more. So women checking out, there's a consequence to that too. So if women check out, then they don't get resources. Women don't have access. Women have access to their own resources, but women don't have access to resources at the level of a lifestyle. They can minimize it, and honestly, it's less money in the system now anyway. So it ain't on some like socialist women got their food and rent paid and they can just check out. No, they still got to work, and these women are cracking under that pressure. So the problem is people keep giving them resources under the guise that they'll have children, and they're not having children, and they're not penalizing that. Meaning these resources are for motherfuckers that have children, as far as the state is concerned. That's why game niggas can't figure it out. So, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, that's what it took. Yeah, even though SWP will tell you he didn't come out of a patriarchal household, even though his dad was in the house and they were married, his mom dominated. SWP is like a 6'5" nigga, 300-pound nigga. Like, so this is not to say nobody sees niggas interpret you to make sure your women run. No, yeah. In a lot of ways they do. Say something they don't like and see what happens. You want to know how much power you got? Make that bitch mad. On some shit that you're right about. Are you fucking serious? Men gotta fight and beg the court for their kids, but we're in a patriarchy. Dominic D says, what does it say about the men if you need to have leverage over them for them to want to be with you? Okay, first of all, I didn't say, number one, dude, like for real, man. Dominic, and I'm gonna assume you're not trolling. Let's say, like, you clearly don't know what the difference of leverage is. Let's take Chris Brown. Chris Brown, for example. Women want to be with Chris Brown. Some women don't like him because of the Rihanna situation, but women want to be with Chris Brown. To the point where Chris Brown, unlike fuck Chris Brown. Fuck Chris Brown. NBA Youngboy. Women love NBA Youngboy. NBA Youngboy is admitted to having a sexually transmitted disease. I think he has a herp. Yet NBA Youngboy, women will have sex with him anyway. They don't care. They will have raw sex with him. How do I know this? Because he has a lot of women pregnant. Hold on. NBA YoungBoy is like 25 years old. He has 10 kids with 8 different women. And NBA YoungBoy, at least like in 6 and up, he baby mama 6 and up, or kid 6 and up, he's had, you know, STD. NBA, so women clearly want NBA YoungBoy. NBA YoungBoy has what's called sexual leverage. This is a lot like my currencies. If you have currency, like let's say, this goes back to the height shit. Let's say you're, an NBA YoungBoy isn't tall, by the way. Like, he's not short, but he's like probably like 5'10", something like that. I don't know. I haven't looked. But he's not like, I don't think he's 6 foot. But if you are, we'll go back to height. Height is a beauty marker for men, because that's what women want. Just like gold is a precious metal, right? If you are 6 foot, you are 1 in 7 men. If you're 6'2", you are 1 in like 22 men. That gives you that marker. I'm not saying it's a be all end all, but that gives you leverage, because you're getting way more attention from people. Dudes, they have the population at 6 foot, which is crazy. So the women see you, versus some men might be invisible unless they got status or other factors. Right? That gives you leverage. That alone. If you're known for being able to fuck good, meaning women like you, that gives you sexual leverage. This is why dudes like the side dude position. That is a leverage position, because you don't have to do a lot except fuck good, and you're getting all the benefits without giving up any of the issues. So when women want you, this is why you think the conversation with the quote unquote high value man is really like Kevin had his definition, but a high value man is just a man that women in a certain marketplace want at a high rate, which means that man has sexual leverage. All these complaints are coming from sexual leverage. So for you to take what I'm talking about is you need to have leverage over women for them once you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Number one. Number two, this conversation has nothing to do with women wanting men. This conversation has to do with getting women's compliance to do what needs to be done to actually have a functional community that operates like the other ones. Every fucking group has leverage on their women. Every group. White men have it, and you build that leverage. The only reason why white women are the beauty standard is because white men made them that. If white men were to fall off, white women are the first. Truth be told, white men are more of a beauty standard for women, and than white women are from other races of men. Other races of men prefer their own women, all things being equal, but a lot of groups will prefer white men because they see white men as a key to whiteness, which gives them maximum leverage, because it depends on what you're willing to do for it. And a lot of these women will put their survival at risk. They will turn their survival instinct off for it. That's how compelling that is. It's leverage. Just like in certain countries, you can't just, and only in the West can you, this is what, I was listening to Andrew Wilson. It was a whole bunch of a white panel, which I usually don't listen to, but it had the divorce lawyer on there. The other dude, the dude with like the sleeve tattoo, he's the cool dude, the cool one, which by the way, he was disrespectful. He was like shading Andrew to his face, like, it was like, god damn. It's very interesting, kind of the dynamic, seeing all of that. I may share the video because it's very interesting. I actually may do a review because it's funny as hell, because like how white people do shade. I'm like, yeah, that would have been a nigga moment if somebody would have did that in a black community. It was funny, but anyway, it really was. But this is why they were talking. This is why Andrew was talking about getting rid of no-fault divorce versus divorce lawyer would talk about better qualitative outcomes so people don't want a divorce. I don't agree with that either, because I think these women are being disingenuous on on why they do what they do. Even though he's a divorce lawyer, even lead attorney admitted that. Like again, these women don't see marriage in the same way. This is why a lot of dudes starting to come out with the term cashing out. Cashing out. And I do believe it should be harder for people to get married. Harder. Like, I do think you focus on making it harder to get married versus harder to get out. You got to make it so men got to really push to want to do this. But they're not going to do that because you know, you get married, it's like a fucking honey trap now. But my point is, leverage is there's three kinds of leverage. There's three kinds, if we're going to get big with it. You can either force somebody to do something with physical force, you can influence them to do something, or you can pay them off. Well, we can't do physical force on on women because that's bad. So you have to use the other two, like macro leverage points. I've talked about this before. So this has nothing to do with getting pussy. Truth be told, you can leverage money to get a bitch to fuck. Are you fucking serious? So that's not what we're talking about. But people come in here because but that's what they were talking about. Because but see, they're never gonna do that because marriage is a honey trap. Marriage is a honey trap to give the state legal right to your resources. Actually, a funny story on the low. I was actually I looked at, it was a clip, and it was by this divorce dude. He's actually a good. I like you know, obviously lead attorney forever, but this dude has like a unique perspective too that actually, you know, complements lead attorney. So he has his own unit, but he said with Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Bezos, like why she got all that money. He actually explained it in 60 seconds. He said the problem was Mackenzie Bezos, it was worse. Mackenzie Bezos had a legal right to have, because she was in early with Amazon and married to Jeff Bezos that early, she had a legal right to not just the money, but the shares. The shares are more valuable for Amazon than the money. So the reason why Mackenzie Bezos got all that money is because Mackenzie Bezos, see, is different. Technically, Bill Gates' wife, Melinda Gates, made off with a more of a bandit than Mackenzie Bezos, because Melinda Gates was an employee at Microsoft when Bill Gates was always a billionaire. So there must have not been enough of a prenup or something to counter that. Also, probably the increase in his wealth is probably what she got off on. But truth be told, Mackenzie was there from the beginning. Obviously, I'm not saying that, you know, she did have to work, but she was there. And, you know, for women, that's all it needs for legal court. She had access to the shares, which means she could have got half of the shares. That's why Jeff Bezos really didn't fight that shit. Because he was like, why Jeff Bezos, in fact, that's probably a deal they struck. He said they would have been able to split the company in half. Yeah, she would have been able to split the company in half. Yeah, she would have been able to split the company in half, which has a lot, because at the end of the day, those shares, Jeff Bezos wouldn't have been able to have full custody. He would have been subject to hostile takeover of Amazon, and they couldn't let that happen. So they basically said, look, you're gonna make that money back in 3-4 years. You got so much, pay the bit. So they was like, pay the bit. That's why it was like it seemed like he rolled over like that, because that was probably the agreement. And she was like, I mean, once you dealing with that kind of money, it's like whatever. Cause you think she don't got no shares in Amazon? So she got cashed out. She probably had to buy her own shares or something, but she got cashed out. That's what that was. He had to cash her out. And so nobody, I mean, maybe in the black side, nobody explained that. But, you know, just FYI, again, leverage. So people have to see, this is what I'm talking about. These concepts are not talked about. People be like, that's why when you say, how do you check your woman? Niggas are talking about checking your woman. How do you check her? Leverage. Leverage comes in a variety of ways. And it depends on what a woman values. Some women value value quality sex over everything. What do they value, and what are they willing to do for what they value? If women value good dick, well, it don't matter how much of a good man, they'll have a baby for you over good dick. Good dick is hard to come by, apparently. They can open their legs to a lot of dudes, but they can't get good dick from a lot of dudes. They can't get so they value that to the point where they will cheat on their husbands. They will throw their lives away over good dick. So you have maximum leverage. Yeah, she can get violent with you, but she can only get violent as you allow her to do. This is why dudes so money is a leverage point. But black women don't really care. Black women care about good dick way more than they care about money. Because in black women's minds, they can fuck for money. There's things they can negotiate for women with money. And these are black women that ain't like white women, where white women got a lot of financial infrastructure for them. Shout out to Poindexter's here, turning 20, just showing love to the content. Absolutely. So yeah, you probably not hearing this nowhere else but here. Leverage. Because people always say you need to check your women. They don't understand why. What, violence? No, we can't do that. And so as a group, you have to do it at scale, which means there have to be certain agreements that black men come to. Like, for instance, black women can have leverage when it comes to sexual contact. They don't have leverage when it comes to marriage. And that's for a variety of reasons. But then again, a variety of reasons. So it's about where the leverage, because you think women aren't thinking about leverage? You think women don't think about leverage? Why do you think women get upset about passport bros? Because that's a leverage point. Black men are 6% of the population in the United States. Black males are like 21 million. Black adult males are like 7 million. Black adult males. Even if you keep it black, you're talking about 1 billion melanated people. Because technically the untouchable Indians are melanated. If you count them, that's like an extra 400 million. Anyway, I can't believe this motherfucker sitting there putting earrings on. Anyway, leverage. Interracial dating. Interracial dating has its problems, but if you say, oh, boys will be boys under that context, you can have sex with 100 white women. If you have kids with a black one, that's the only one that counts. That's the point. So women don't have as much leverage. They have the leverage they think they have because black men impose certain governors on what they could do because of guilt. Again, that's the guilt part. Ego and guilt. So I'm not saying this is not solvable. But what I'm saying is black men are way out of alignment on what a patriarchy needs to be. Even under Western context, we are way more in alignment. And I'm talking about black men's instincts. And they take that with them to other groups, which is why black men are willing to do things other groups of men are not willing to do. Which one of the things that makes black men very attractive is mates. This is why I absolutely believe the stat that black men are fathers are in their life when black men are allowed to be, when we're not coerced to have children, when it's actually kids that we want. Black men are the main men that are willing to be stepfathers by percentage. Those are matriarchal tendencies, egalitarian tendencies. This is not about making men feel bad. This is about diagnosing a fucking problem so you can fix it. This is about troubleshooting. So the reason why I'm fucking annoyed is because it's kind of like, dude. It's like, dude. It's been a minute since I've been here. It's like, you're getting in the way of the troubleshooting of the problem because of your ego. Because he didn't have to make that video. Yeah, media man says, the patriarchy, this is this. Well, you don't know what the fuck he's talking about. His dad say. His dad say. He also ain't talking about leverage. Because at the end of the day, man, There's ideas and there's implementation of those ideas. A lot of these niggas really think if black men were sexy enough, the black women would just do what they're told. That's not true. Because again, eventually that'll be their new normal, and then they'll start revert. It's a deeper problem. The big reason why you have a mate, you can say, yeah, it's white supremacy. It is. They definitely help it. But because it's definitely what a lot, the matriarchy in a lot of ways. Why do you think they always try to encourage feminism in other countries? Because it's a soft power tactic. It's a way for societies to fuck themselves up without America having to directly do it. So this is about leverage points. And men, and the fact that men don't really know, it's not that people are ignorant, it's that this is not talked about. These ideas are supposed to be socialized into men. But what do you socialize to do? You're socialized to do acts of service to get her compliance. Which I'm not saying to not do, but that stuff, you're socialized to do carrot, carrot, carrot. You're not socialized to do sticks. And the reality is female nature dictates that you're... What do you think a fucking nice guy is? What do you think a nice guy is? What do you think a nice guy is? Nobody never explains that. A nice guy is somebody that doesn't have leverage. They don't have sexual charisma, sexual leverage. It's basic. What do you think shit tests are? Nobody never told you how to properly deal with a shit test. When a woman shit tests you, she's essentially testing your electric gates, meaning your leverage points. If I ask you, how do you punish your woman in a way that she can't circumvent? Niggas freeze up because niggas probably ain't never been asked that question before. Game niggas don't tell you that. That's how you, when niggas, they just say, you gotta check her, man. You gotta check her, man. What does that mean? They never explain it. They never explain it. But why is he a doormat? Look, some of this stuff, there's an art to it, absolutely. But all of this stuff is a lack of information and a lack of practical, applicable information that a guy lacks. That's all it is. Even when it comes to game. People, it's more money in talking about game than actually really, truly teaching people how to... Nobody, it's like, nobody wants to cure nice guy syndrome, because then you won't have anybody in the mind of people, you won't have anybody to sell game to. The shit is really not that complicated. I'm not saying I'm the be all end all, but with the aggregation of a lot of men and shit, there are answers to these questions, yo. Well, from what I'm talking about, Clutch, you're right. But shit tests are for guys that don't have sexual leverage over the women. And sexual leverage is not a one-to-one thing. Sexual leverage has to do with how they look. Sexual leverage that's where the alpha your way through it thing. Sexual leverage has to do with your ability to create emotional leverage with them, which is basically run them through a roller coaster of emotions. So how much ability are you able to move her emotions? This is where verbal game is, and mouthpiece, storytelling, shit like that. Or your sexual history and status reputation. So that's what goes into that. And then as far as dudes that they will do, they will, I get what you're saying, Clutch. That's what that is. That's actually what's lacking. What we do is we don't actually say specifically what we're talking about. We give the surface level thing and then assume everybody understands it to the same degree. And I'm not, I had to pick this up over time. But these things actually have real fundamental root word meanings. I'm not talking you, Clutch, but in general, root word meanings. These things mean things. I know a lot of people just be repeating shit. That's the problem. It's a lot of creators that are post Kevin and just and look, man, it is what it is. But they just repeat shit. I mean, a lot of creators, and you hear that, but nobody really breaks down. And look, I got to be accountable to that. One of the biggest, I don't want to say regrets, but things that I should have did with this channel is I should have did a lot more video uploads. I should have a video for all these concepts, because, you know, stuff gets lost in, you know, the lives. I don't know why, Landon. Well, disciplining, honestly, it's very difficult to discipline a woman with your wallet, because if you discipline her with your wallet, she'll just try to discipline you by lack of sexual contact. Leverage over a woman is your ability. There's a reason why these women always gravitate to niggas that a lot of bitches want, because that creates sexual leverage. If you're a dude and you can replace her with equal or greater value, and she knows it, which sometimes you got to remind her that you can, that actually creates sexual, some game dudes will call it sexual tension, but that's leverage, because she knows she could just fuck a nigga, but every dude can't just replace them, because truth be told, you can't disciplining a bitch with your wallet, that doesn't really work with black women, because they have counter punishments they can do, even if it's like undercover. They have counter things they can do to punish you for that, especially if she's used to getting a certain amount from you and you just say no. There's things she can do, but there's nothing she can do. Like, the closest thing is to discipline somebody with your wallet, and then you got to have a wallet to discipline them with. The only time that you can really mess them up with disciplining somebody for a wallet is like kicking them out of a lifestyle. But you got to be able to provide a lifestyle. You got to be able to provide a lifestyle in order to do that, and most dudes can't provide a lifestyle. Most dudes can't provide it. That's where that colorism, you know, why you let the white bitches in and all that comes from. But if you sit here but you can't have regular money and do that, because then if you're dealing with chicks that are rats or hood rats, they have a nothing to lose mentality, so they don't give a fuck. Those chicks value dick and quality sex. I call it 5-star plumbing more than they value money, because they can always get, because they think in fast money, they don't think in security. You got to deal with more upper echelon women with that. And even so, women are not, you know, women value whiteness more than they value that. I think money can do a lot of things, but I think men overestimate like what money does with a lot of these chicks. In the moment, yeah, but women value other things other than money, especially when they're in that casual sex mode. So you got to be like, real talk. If you want to self-improve anything, it's your sexual ability. Because once it's known, you can put it down and make a bitch come on command. And that's where lifting weights, working out, and all of that comes in. Those techniques and stuff like that. Because once that's known, you have a lot more leverage. Because you're going to get leverage in other women dealing with you. The other thing is your ability to get sexual contact creates leverage. Again, interracial dating. I've never, like, you limit your sexual, anybody saying they only date black women, either they're getting black women that are easy, or they're like, they get black women easier, or they're getting ran by black women. And so that's just some shit they say out of fear. Well, I mean, financially, it's not financial abuse. I mean, what are we talking about? We're not talking about a wife. We're talking about a bitch you're fucking. We're not even talking about a girlfriend. And the reality is, see, you got to be more clear when you like financial abuse. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm about to leave, but Michael Porter Jr. Everybody was getting all bit mad because Michael Porter Jr. said that he pays half the rent for his girl. His girl pays half the rent. Everybody's got an opinion about that, but they didn't know the information, even though it was out there, because they want to go on a clip. No, his bitch had her own place. Michael Porter was paying half of her own place. Michael Porter lives on his own. They don't live together, and he's paying half. And people purposely construe that because they want to make it like, even the dudes, because they want to make it like he's being cheap. Well, what's the fuck wrong with that? But the second, because she's getting clout off being with him too. But secondly, the women, they think everything should be paid for. No, bitch. You need to pay for some of your own shit. You know, people be like, for instance, with Brittany Renner and PJ Watson, people forget that PJ Watson paid for the house that Brittany Renner lives in. But with her mom is living in a house that's already paid for by PJ Washington. But Brittany Renner want to live in fucking California in a fucking Airbnb. How the fuck you got your kid in Airbnb? And then she talking about she want to get more money when she been getting $5,500. She want to get more money because she wants custody. Brittany Renner should have been a sponsor of a lot of different products by now. But she really don't want to do that. So there's no such thing as financial abuse because bitches can make their own money. I'll put my foot down on that. Bitches can, this ain't 1950s where women depend on a man for daily bread. Women make their own money. So, this nigga said financial abuse. But truth be told, the money is not where you, like, truth be told, honestly, you know what doesn't get said, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna be out. A big reason, a big way to discipline your bitch is fuck another bitch. This sounds like a very hot take, or a dude from Game is Game would say this, but yeah, the best way to punish your bitch is by fucking another bitch. Well, she could just go and cheat on you. She absolutely can, and you can get rid of her. You can get, if she ain't got a kid, if you ain't got a kid with her and all of that, oh, you cheated on me. These women like that shit low key. They just don't like the ego blow when they're girls and stuff. But that's the best way. When Carmelo went and had that side baby, people forget Lala went and showed her titties to the world. Carmelo Anthony's an athlete, man. And was it really worth it? Because you know, oh, Carmelo didn't mention Lala. But remember, Lala older than Carmelo by like 4 years. Oh, he didn't have to. She wasn't shooting in the gym. She wanted that token, like, appreciation. Fuck that shit. You showed your titties on TV. Your ego, you damn right. Mine shouldn't have to. I'm Carmelo fucking Anthony, bitch. I could have had another you. You were older than me. You knew what it was when you dealt with me, like, I think, like 19, 20, 21. She knew what it was. You knew you wasn't gonna do better, and Lala has it. This is just basic shit. This is basic shit you to understand as far as how you navigate certain shit. This is basic. I mean, I don't want to say it's basic like that. But this stuff is not complicated. It's now implementation may be a little tricky. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is stuff that people are supposed to be implemented with when they're like, especially teenage years. Because again, this is not just about women, it's about life in general. If you need to compel somebody to do some shit. If you need to compel somebody to do anything, this is like Art of War type shit. Or 50 laws of power type shit. But people don't think about that, so niggas get frustrated. And I'm not trying to act like I'm the be all end all, but this is definitely shit that nobody's really talking about. And a lot of people, it really is. Like, a lot of this stuff is like a lot of light bulb moments for a lot of people. Leverage. It's not about, see, and the reason why Dominic said what he said, I'm gonna tell you why he said that. And look, it's fine, but it's because when you hear leverage, you hear forcing somebody to do something. You hear oppression. That's what you think about, and that's the problem. Dudes think that you're oppressing a female when you're creating leverage. No, leverage is like trust but verified. Why do you think the United States is the United States? It's because of leverage. They do what they do. Why do you think we got to have a military? Part of it is to control the shipping lines, but it's leverage. You have to be strong enough that people don't want to challenge. But that's not just about physical strength. Niggas go to, I want to be sexually attractive to women, so they do what I want. The reality is that's a temporary thing. No matter how good you look, it will never be the same as that white ice to a lot of these women. Them white boys, like only black men got to do some of the shit that black men do. Other races are not doing this. And they're getting their women. But black men, that never dawns on black men. Because a lot of that is a black tax. And so collectively, dudes are thinking individually. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But what people are thinking about is certain things. There's certain things that if it's done by a group, it makes it less difficult to deal with at the macro level. There's certain things that have to be done at the group level. Like you don't have a media apparatus in order to put, for instance, take Media Man, for example. Media Man doesn't have a black male media apparatus that he can plug into. So you gotta sell, dudes gotta say, how much do I want to sell out to the hoes? It's leverage, economics. A lot of people don't say what they want to say, what they really think, because what? The economic punishment. They don't need to thug out. Women do. Really, women, they're so insecure because they don't have leverage. They can make up leverage.